This training video highlights changes that have been made to the intake or screening pages in FamilyNet. Intake functionality largely remains the same, but there have been some improvements and policy updates covered in this video. The biggest change is that the intake pages have been transitioned to the new look and feel, similar to Response. This means that the pages will adjust to the screen they're displayed on, whether it's a tablet, smartphone, or desktop. You'll still be able to see and do what you need to do. The pages will just look a little different. Intakes still have status icons to help you know what needs to be completed. A red X still means that a required section has not been started and is necessary to send the intake for approval. A yellow exclamation point means that the section is started but not complete, and a green check mark means that all the required fields have been filled out for that section. You can view a list of missing information anytime by clicking the new Incomplete Reasons link in the header. This will show you all the required fields that need to be entered for the intake so you can see what's left to do no matter what section you are on. On the Persons Involved page, the roles for adult in and out of the home have been relabeled as Consumer Adult in Home and Consumer Adult Out of Home. This emphasizes the fact that if the intake is screened in, these individuals will become consumers in the response and the case and have a consumer history. For 51As, Consumer Adult should continue to be selected for the parents or guardians of all children who are the subject of the intake, whether the parent lives with the child or not. For adults who shouldn't be consumers, you continue to have the option to select Collateral Non-DCF and pick a role subtype of kin collateral, other household or case member, or professional collateral. Per policy, kin collateral should be used for adults who are not the child's parent or guardian, who are currently acting or in the future may act in a caregiving role. If you aren't sure during screening whether a caregiver is the child's parent or guardian, you can select kin collateral and provide any additional information in your write-up. This information can be reviewed and updated as additional information is learned during the response. On the BRC page for both intake and response, you can now select consumers and non-consumers in the same requests. This includes the ability to select out-of-state query and/or SORI requests for kin collaterals and other household/case members. You will still use the general BRC to check babysitters and/or other collaterals that aren't case members if needed. There have been a number of small enhancements to person demographics. For example, in addition to recording a Social Security number, you now have the option to choose SSN declined. Gender has also been relabeled to birth sex. The Indian Child Welfare Act, or ICWA questions about Native American or Alaskan ancestry, have also been added directly to the intake demographic screens. We've added some logic to help you complete some of this information when you have selected American Indian or Alaskan Native as a race. Please enter the ICWA information when applicable. And don't forget, you still need to contact the ICWA staff for children who have a tribal affiliation. On the Contact page, you can now do a text search of all contact narratives in the intake. Enter your search criteria and click the magnifying glass icon. If there's a match, FamilyNet will highlight the matching word in yellow in the narrative. You can also now see any documents associated with the contact from the contact list. In the Allegations section, death has been removed from the list of allegations. Instead, you will choose the allegation of neglect or physical abuse that is thought to have caused the death. Based on feedback from the field, the intake decision field has also been doubled in size. You can now type up to 4,000 characters in the decision narrative. A number of small changes have been made to the Intake Clinical Reviews section to make it easier to use. For example, the review will default to today's date and time. If the intake is associated to a case, the staff members involved in the case will be included in the list of possible participants for the review. Reviews will now show in the summary. To make it easier to enter DA referrals, the DA at place of incident will default to what you enter as the DA at the place of residence. You could change it if needed. Information about DA referrals entered at intake will also be easier to see at response. DA referral reasons will now show on the intake summary. Many of the intake letters have been updated to reflect current policy language. In addition, many places where you had to enter narrative text have been removed to streamline the process of notifying consumers. Finally, the ability to restrict or unrestrict a specific intake is now available within the intake for authorized users. You no longer need to go to FamilyNet to restrict intakes. This concludes the training on the iFamilyNet intake changes. Also see the training video on iFamilyNet response changes, available on the DCF intranet.